Hello, Privyet, Tubers and Connoisseurs of fine historic militaria. This is your host, Gender Wu, militaria aficionado and lifelong friend of Igor Moiseyev. Igor is the proprietor and president of CollectRussia.com, doing business as Atlantic Crossroads Incorporated. And more importantly, Igor is an American Patriot. After 30 years in business, he has established a well-deserved reputation as a dedicated practitioner in the art of good old-fashioned, honest customer service. We welcome you as we launch this maiden episode of CollectRussia.com's YouTube channel. We hope to offer a unique insight into the fascinating world of Imperial and Soviet Russian Militaria. In the months and years ahead, you shall be blessed with the expertise and charisma of Igor, who will personally guide you in becoming proficient caretakers of some of history's most iconic and treasured military artifacts of the Russian people. We promise that you will gain spectacular insight that is not found in any publication or anywhere else on the internet. Igor will detail gripping deeds of warriors past through iconic symbols of honor via official documentation. And yes, you will also learn how to spot those rascals, the ultra fakes. We will take a deep dive into the heart of the Russian people to include etiquette, traditions, food, wine, women, and song. My friend, Igor, let's get right into it. How did you become the premier expert and purveyor of Imperial and Soviet Militaria? How did this grand enterprise all begin?
That all started by accident, really, because of my interest in history. My background is completely different. I graduated with a physics degree and was to be a teacher of physics or researcher. But it just so turned out that I had a wonderful teacher in middle school who organized a literate museum and had archaeological expeditions for higher graders. And our classroom was just full of incredible artifacts. So he brought history by showing the actual artifacts to life.
He deviated from the normal course of the curriculum.
Absolutely, absolutely. This was no instruction book. And I learned to value this when I went on, and there were other teachers, and of course there were nothing in comparison. So these seeds were really planted by my middle school teacher, who taught us history, not just as an abstract, but through actual artifacts.
God bless him.
It was very live this way. And then it continued, and as a kid I collected pins of Soviet and Russian cities, coats of arms. This was pretty popular. And because, again, I was interested in the historical part. Why such and such city has this on its coat of arms? And what part of their larger region it belongs to. My parents loved to travel. I lived in various places throughout my life in the Soviet Union. So I learned to appreciate history and culture of various areas. And again, my today's hobby and business is really based on my childhood experiences.
Wow, and what years were these?
Oh, we are talking when I was growing up in the 70s, right during the Cold War. I graduated from school in 1982 and went to university. So all my formative years, we traveled a lot, and I was really exposed to historical parts of things, and learned to appreciate it.
My God, the 70s. Wow, you're very well preserved. You're healthy, you exercise. Oh, you look great. Yeah.
Thank you. I try. But in any case, it's great to have something that used to be a hobby, and I never thought that it would become business. This, again, happened by accident. I never planned for this. But, it grew amazingly into something that you see today, which is
interesting.
A full-time occupation.
Interesting. And when did you come to America?
Oh, I came in 1990, early 1990, and I lived in Jacksonville, Florida for a while, and then moved to New York because I had friends there. I was all alone when I came here. I didn't have any relatives or friends really. And then my friends came to Brooklyn, and I moved there, and I was also planning to go into graduate school and maybe study business. That was the idea.
Okay.
But of course, what happened later, again, had nothing to do with my plans. It's just fate, really. And
I see. And how in the world did you? Yeah. So you studied engineering. You're thinking about going to business. And so how did you fall upon Russian Militaria?
oh, that's actually a curious story. When I lived in Italy, and I had to live in Italy for almost half a year before I came to America because there was no relative. I was a refugee. I didn't have any citizenship, as a matter of fact, at that point. That was stripped for anybody who was living in the Soviet Union at the time. So we had to just stay there until there was some way to come to America or any other place, really. So finally, I was lucky enough because I asked for visa to the United States for refugee status, and it just so happened when I lived in Italy, we needed some way of supporting ourselves, me and my friends. So I made some money, like digging literally wells and doing the menial labor, and it was fine. Yeah, it was perfectly fine. I really enjoyed my living there, my time there, and eventually I gathered enough money to actually buy myself a tourist trip, and that was always a fantastic idea to go to Venice, Florence, northern Italy, and visit places I never dreamt, never thought that I would ever visit. And when I did that, I realized I was actually a way to make money by buying things in the south of Italy of immigrants. And a lot of them came with things for sale. They needed to convert their life savings or anything that they had to sell when they were leaving, their apartments, their furniture, everything, cars. They needed to somehow bring goods that they could
to make a living, sure. Put food on the table.
Exactly.
Yeah, feed their children.
So I realized in the north of Italy, that same goods was selling for 3 times as much or 2 times as much as they were near Rome, where most immigrants, Russian or Soviet immigrants, settled.
Okay.
So I came up with this idea, and I brought it to my friend who had some money. I didn't have any. That he would finance this, and I would buy off of immigrants there and travel to Florence again and dispose of it. And miraculously it worked.
Yeah, so you took you took the idea that you have your passion, and of course you got to eat.
Well, at that time there was very little passion in it. I didn't realize that historical part of things would come to the foreground.
Oh, you didn't realize? Huh?
I didn't realize that at first, but then I was making one of my sales trips. There's just a suitcase full of Soviet, Matryoshka dolls and Russian caviar and Soviet watches and stuff like that.
Everything.
Literally like just souvenirs, Soviet souvenirs that Italians just loved. And as I was going there, on a seat next to me was sitting a former Soviet submarine commander, believe it or not. Not commander, but an officer of a submarine. And he found it amusing that Italians are interested in this sort of stuff because we struck a conversation. He was really amazed that he was even alive because he said, and didn't know at that time, that Soviet submarines were extremely prone to disasters. And he was really relieved that he was, first of all, let out.
Yes.
And secondly, that he even survived. And he had a few medals. When I told him what I'm going to the north of Italy for, it was no longer just a tourist trip.
Oh, a chance meeting.
Exactly. And he said, hey, I have some medals. Are you interested?
His own medals?
His own medals.
Oh, Lord.
And I remember, as if it were today, I bought his medal for pennies, for length of service, his Jubilee medals. And when I came to Venice, I had clients there, newspaper La Nuova Venezia. I don't know if it still exists. And they just loved this stuff and always bought half or 3/4 of what I had every time that I came there.
Wow, so you were encountering a lot of success in your sales.
Well, enough to keep me going and to have a good life in Italy. Like, not good life that I could buy anything, but, comfortable enough. Right. So in any case, I went there, and I still have a photo of an editor, chief editor of newspaper La Nuova Venezia with a medal on his jacket that I just sold him. And then photo of me next to him, and we all had great love. But this was the first medal I ever sold.
Fantastic.
And then it developed when I came to America. Again, it was never my plan to make any kind of business out of it.
Yes, yes.
I was looking for a different career, and just found out that, yes, there is interest in Soviet artifacts. And because I was so myself interested in them, it became natural. It came natural that I started looking for them. I knew there was Russian community, Brooklyn, Brighton Beach area.
Oh, Brighton.
And at that time, there were many coming just off the boat. And again, they were bringing things like medals.
So these were your initial sources in America.
Exactly. And
Brighton Beach, Brooklyn.
exactly. And then another curious thing happened. I met a guy who was literally rescued at an airport by a friend of mine. He had nowhere to go. The person, American, who was supposed to meet him there, didn't arrive, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't have any English. He didn't know anybody. She realized he was in dire straits, brought him home, and at that time we were sharing one apartment, like several families, like 3 or 4 families, or various people. I was by myself, but there were families there. So she brought him, even though we didn't really have any space, and you know. He lived there in the corner for a little while. He came as a tourist. He wasn't planning to stay. And he really appreciated it. And when we spoke, it turned out that he has a brother who is a merchant marine. And he had opportunity to smuggle a lot of things out of Soviet Union.
Smuggle.
Well, of course, it
Interesting.
wasn't
Yes.
possible to do it legally.
Yes, yes. To take things out of.
Of course,
The old
all
Soviet
militaria, especially things like metal, were strictly forbidden. But he could do it. And at that time, we realized that the price differential was tremendous. Whatever you could buy for $3 in the Soviet Union, you could sell in America for 70,
Oh my
60
God.
or something.
Well, thank you for your honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
So we decided we'll just split the difference. He would supply me, and his brother started sending me literally boxfuls of Orders of Red Star. At that point, I started looking for market. Where do I sell it? It would be not so not so good, not so inventive to sell it right there on Brighton Beach, where there are a lot of Russian. And I
Right.
remembered my lessons from
Right, why
Italy.
would they want to buy
From
their own
Italy, I would
things?
need
Yeah.
to find a market.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately enough, when I was in New York City visiting a bookstore, an old bookstore that was in Midtown Manhattan, no longer exists, I met a guy there who was looking for Soviet badges and pins. His name was Michael Fisher.
Oh, wow. Yes, yes. Our
And
friend Michael Fisher, yes.
he asked if I would be interested to go to a show, to a military show. I never even knew there was such thing as military shows. And they said, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I recall Michael, fine gentleman.
Yeah.
Very knowledgeable.
Very
A
knowledgeable.
gentleman and a scholar.
In a way.
Yeah, yeah.
But he was nice enough to let me go with him and his other friend to a show, and that was Union Military show, the first show I ever attended.
Yes.
And
that's where we met.
and that's exactly where I met you.
That's right.
That
yes.
was back, over 30 years
Yes.
ago now.
I had a table, and I invited you to put your wares on a table.
Remember that?
Yeah, and it sold well.
Those were the days, and
Sold
I
well,
couldn't
yeah.
believe, and of course I credit you, and I'm very grateful to
Yeah,
for what
fantastic.
you
Wow.
did. You didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
But it kind of snowballed from there. Again, I wasn't thinking of it as a permanent occupation, but it was kind of dragging me in because it was interesting, first of all. And again, historical part of things, because of the nature of Soviet medals, so many of them are documented. So many of them have serial numbers that are researchable, meaning you can establish who that person was and what he did to earn the medal. And that makes all the difference in the war.
Right, right.
Because
Now,
now
compared to
there's
the German military.
and slowly but surely, it started developing into something that was much bigger than I ever planned. And here we have it.
Yeah, so tell me, okay, so you're selling wares out of your bag, basically, casually at a show. When was your first official, like, commercial sale, so to speak? Like, you had a table, you had a...
Oh, probably
have
going
any
back to
ads?
1992
Yeah.
or so. In 1993, we incorporated as Atlantic
Oh.
Crossroads.
You incorporated.
Yes,
Interesting.
absolutely. And then from that point on, at that point I was already a member of Orders and Medal Society of America.
Yeah.
And I went to OMSA, Order and Medal Society conventions.
That took a lot of guts to incorporate.
Well, I thought that it's really not fun to do it halfway.
Yeah, well, you're humble.
So when I
mean,
committed,
yeah.
I decided, okay,
Yeah,
we'll,
I mean,
we'll go for
you have to
it.
deal with the regulatory
Yeah.
rules, paying your taxes and
Absolutely,
everything.
yeah. It was always a plan.
An American
to
Patriot.
do it legally.
Yeah, American taxpayer.
And yeah, that was never a question.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued, and
Mm.
it consumed all my spare time and then some. And then I
Yeah,
realized
yeah.
I was in school at that time. There is no point. I don't need a business degree
You were
to
doing
run
well.
my own business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you have your first show, Militaria show? When did you first
I
set
would
up?
say around 1993, 94, if not 92. And
Yeah.
I traveled a lot at that time. There was no internet, obviously. And then another thing that I started doing differently than some other Russian dealers who already were in the market and were none too pleased to see a newcomer like me, I started publishing a catalog. I decided that to do it right, you need to have meaningful description, meaningful research done, explanation of what these things are that you're selling, not just show, but show and tell.
Right,
And-
there were no like websites like we have
Exactly,
today.
and of
Yeah,
course
these are
information-
paper catalogs.
Information was very limited
Wow.
for me too, but
Mhm.
based on my collecting experience
Mm.
in the old Soviet Union, albeit limited, and based on the contacts that I made, I was able to gather necessary information that made me comfortable enough to continue on selling more sophisticated, rare, and in some cases very expensive things.
Right. Wow, the stakes got higher
Exactly.
as you handled.
Exactly.
more
And it
pricier
naturally
items.
developed, and I started sending our catalogs by mail to hundreds of OMSA members.
Hundreds.
Well,
Wow.
it was a long list, and I got it from the organization.
Yeah.
So now I knew the addresses, and started, especially OMSA publishes collecting interest of members as long as they don't
Yes,
mind.
yes. Tell me a little bit about OMSA.
OMSA is probably the best organization to join if you are a collector of
Yes,
medals
the
of
Orders
any country.
of
Orders
what
and
is it?
Medal Society of America.
Yes,
We run annual conventions,
fantastic society.
which are awesome
Mm.
because you find like-minded hobbyists,
Yes.
connoisseurs,
Yes,
researchers, serious dealers from all around the world, from
Yes.
Europe, from Asia. You name the place. There will be dealers and collectors from there at the
gathered from
convention.
around the world.
Exactly.
Yes.
Society also publishes a magazine which contains a wealth of information from various
Yes,
countries.
scholarly articles.
Exactly, published by members. So
Right.
anybody can write an article, and if it passes the requirements, then it will be published.
Yes.
And you can't even imagine how valuable it is, because sooner or later there will be an article on a subject that really interests you. That is your focus. But you may also look at other places and other possibilities and say, wow, I never knew about Burmese medals, or I never knew that there were medals of Iran from 18th century.
Yes, Mongolia.
I never
Yeah.
realized there are that every German state had a large number of medals.
Yes.
And some of them are rare, and some of them are extremely beautiful, and all of them are well made.
Right, so just open your eyes.
Exactly. So
Yes.
it may actually broaden your interests. So this would be, you would do yourself a great favor if you're not a member yet.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely
telling-
join.
I'm
Absolutely.
I'm telling this to anybody who is listening.
Yes, a
it-
well-deserved plug.
It's
to
a
the
place.
Orders and Medal
to-
Society of
yeah,
America.
yeah, and it's very inexpensive month, yearly dues.
Oh, it pays for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the knowledge.
$45 probably.
Yeah, and the fellowship that comes
Exactly.
with it when
Exactly.
you
And
attend
that's
the
the most
annual
important.
meetings.
Somebody just asked me very recently,
Yeah.
how do you know and what's the way to do it right?
Right.
To get fixed.
Correct.
And I
Yes.
said, well, there are two ways. One, simple, you buy from a source that you trust.
reputable.
That's
Right.
reputable.
The
How
standard
many
rule.
years
Standard
in
rule.
business, and also what's the reputation in the collectors community.
Correct.
Now, to get to collector, or the other way, of course, is to study it.
Correct.
But that may take years. And a lot of effort. You have to buy literature, you have to read it actually, not to have it on the shelf. You have to talk with other collectors, you have to attend shows
Right.
and maybe auctions, gain first-hand experience, very important. And there is no better way than OMSA convention. It's an annual event, practically always in August, Location changes from time to time. It will be in Chicago this year. And then next year, we don't know yet, but it may be Florida, or it may be California, or someplace else. It's absolutely worth visiting.
Yes, you're well known amongst collectors that you're just like super honest. How do you do it? What are your sales policies? I mean, what's the trick?
Well, it's very simple. We guarantee what we sell, and we don't feel that the customer, the buyer, needs to be responsible for my errors. So if I make a mistake, occasionally happens, I will pay back whatever you got from me.
Wow.
We have a no questions asked return policy.
Oh, no questions asked.
Gotcha. For 2 weeks, you have a full right to return anything
Very
that you
generous,
purchased
yes.
without explaining reasons.
Yes.
And of course, if there are legitimate concerns about the authenticity of an item that we sold, even years from now, we'll take it back.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Now, what are the your regular shows that you attend?
Well, there are a few. The biggest one is, of course, Show of Shows in Louisville.
That's coming up soon.
Exactly, and it's absolutely another show that any military, not just medal collector, but a collector of any kind of uniforms,
Yes.
helmets, headgear, you name it, documentation.
And as we know,
needs to be
for all collectors and aficionados, it's a must-attend show.
absolutely
must
for a
attend.
real connoisseur, for somebody
Yes.
who is serious. No matter it's a long distance maybe from where you live,
Yes,
Louisville, Kentucky, but believe me, it's worth it.
that's right. And I will put a personal plug for the SOS, the Show of Shows, is that you can spend a day there, and that would be equivalent to surfing the net for a year
Absolutely.
of all the clicks that you could waste your time on and finding junk and
Absolutely.
getting burned. But
Absolutely.
if you attend one day of the SOS,
It's more valuable, just as you say.
the education, the fellowship, right? Wow, fantastic.
yeah.
So you shall be attending the next show.
Yes, we
show.
always have tables there, wall tables. You can look us up in the show program by my name, Igor Moiseyev. And
Now,
can ask-
can a collector just come up to you with a piece for appraisal, for your opinion?
we don't do it. And here's why.
Okay.
I'm asked this question very often. The reason we don't is because there is a clear conflict of interest. I should not be appraiser or authenticator if I sell things.
Oh,
It's a
got
clear
you.
conflict of interest.
Got you.
And I just don't want this, questions that everybody will have on the back of one's mind.
Right.
Well, is he telling me that somebody's medal is fake because he wants to sell me?
That's right.
And I just don't want even a shadow of this.
That's right.
So we do guarantee everything we sell.
Yes,
We
yes.
will steer you in the right direction. If you have a question about how to tell, I'll be happy to help you in general.
How to tell something's authentic.
Yes,
Yes.
that by all means.
Yes,
by
yes.
all means.
But it's a conflict of interest.
If I
as you
know
mentioned,
that
yes.
there are common traits of fakes, I will absolutely expose them.
Yes.
I'll do my best.
Yes.
If you want photos of an original, even enlarged photos,
Yes.
compared to what we already have on our website, I'll be happy to provide,
Yes,
especially if you're a
yes.
customer.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point about conflict of interest that is overlooked by many dealers and collectors overall. It's just like GIA. I'm sorry to cut you off, but yeah, just like GIA, you can't be the appraiser, and also the seller. Yes, good point.
Absolutely, and this may even be illegal in diamond trade. If you go to a dealer and buy, say, engagement ring,
Right.
that dealer, my feeling is, has no right to give you
An
any
appraisal.
kind of appraisal.
Correct.
You would need to go to someone else. He will
That's right.
He will tell you.
That's
Or,
right.
He will go with you even if you are on 47th Street.
That's
in
right. Just
Diamond.
like, the GIA is independent.
Exactly.
When they examine a stone,
They have
they
no-
do not know the source. And
They-
that is a part of the integrity.
They don't have a stake in this game.
Correct.
And that's what keeps it honest.
Correct.
Otherwise, there is no way to avoid biases. Honestly, I'll say that I will be biased. When I see that you bought from someone else, it will be on the back of my mind whether I want it or not. And I'll try to keep it out. I'll try to be professional, but there's just no way to be perfectly unbiased when you are a dealer who sells and buys, and at the same time, you're giving an opinion on authenticity.
Wow.
It's a different story. So I think this should be kept aside. And another question that people often ask, well, who is the authenticator? Where can we go? Unfortunately, there is no easy answer. Unfortunately, there is no It's not a huge hobby like diamond trade or maybe coin trade. And therefore, you are not completely on your own. You still have a way to establish what's truth, and that is by reading various literature, by definitely communicating with others.
Okay.
There are forums for collectors, like Headquartered, for example, and there are others. And most importantly, first-hand experience. That's why OMSA is so important. Get in touch, become a member, go to conventions, talk with others. Go to shows like OMSA, like OVMS show, for example, or Max show. There are some others that are militaria shows, militaria oriented specifically for militaria collectors, not just antiques. Those are good too, but
Yeah, so
not
let's
necessarily
clarify.
perfect.
There's a very important point, right? Because right now, anything can be bought off the internet.
Sure.
And what you're recommending is get off the keyboard, show up at the shows.
Exactly. Talk with me.
Yes.
Get some.
But wait a minute.
originals.
Someone will say, well, I got to spend, $200 a night on a hotel. I have to spend $500 on the airfare. Oh, I got to buy food. Everything's like $20 and up right now.
I hear you.
What would you say?
Well, imagine how much you can spend on fakes, and where will it?
Yes.
Where will it leave you?
There's no substitute
There is
for
unfortunately
in
no
presence at the show.
Find a show that's not
Things
too
in
far.
hands.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you chase this idea, this dream of making a good collection, spending more than $5-10 on an item, and without actually spending effort and time on learning about things, you'll be burned. I've seen it far too many times.
Right.
People who got conned, people who came from Russia or Ukraine, thinking that they gathered a tremendous collection, and they would put serious money, thousands.
Right.
of
And
dollars.
this is the ammunition. We have seen collectors who have been collecting for years, and their entire collection, well, not entire, but 99% or 90% of the collection,
Yeah, disaster.
it's just a disaster.
And,
Yeah.
and sometimes it happens that they come to you at a show or send you an email
Yeah.
with photographs, and you don't know what to tell them.
That's
Because
right.
It's a disaster.
That's right. You're the bearer of bad news.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
That's another reason that I avoid getting into an authentication business. And
Yes.
people often offer me money for it and beg and ask, and I always have to say no.
Yes,
unfortunately.
yes,
It
yes.
wouldn't be proper.
That's right. So, Igor, please tell us, what are we going to expect for future episodes of your YouTube channel?
Well,
Give us a
sky
peek.
is the limit. We can start with Soviet World War II medals.
Okay,
campaign
World War II.
medals.
Campaign
There were a
medals.
number of campaign medals that were
Okay.
issued to every soldier who survived,
Yes.
who was in a particular campaign, such as Stalingrad or defense of Leningrad or capture of Berlin,
Yes.
among the most famous ones. Then there are medals for bravery, medal for valor, so called. You can also translate it as bravery medal, medal for combat service. Ushakov and Nahimov naval medals, very interesting, very uncommon. Then there are decorations of higher grade, such as, for example, Order of the Red Star, Order of the Red Banner, or the requirements, how they progressed, how they changed over the years.
Yes.
What are the major variations and types, how valuable are they, how difficult they are to find, and of course, very importantly, are they faked, and how to tell.
Okay.
What are the pictures of originals, how do we know, all that stuff, and of course, research side of it.
The research.
Important, very important.
Okay.
Whenever we know what the medal is awarded for, who received it, what did he do after and before? That's an interesting part of the story too.
Now, do you provide translation services?
Not really, but I would
Documents?
encourage everyone to look for a translator. It may be very inexpensive, especially coming from the former Soviet Union.
Okay. You're able to recommend
I
translators.
would just recommend to look up
Oh, okay.
available sources. I don't have anybody in particular.
Gotcha.
I could recommend, but it's easy enough to find a decent translator who will do it for very little. I can do translations. It will just be overly expensive because I have a business to run. If
Oh,
do
I see. Well, that's
translation,
not your, yeah.
I
mainly
will
line
do
of
a
work.
decent job, and I'm being perfectionist. Will make sure it's as good as I can possibly make it, but it will require my time, and that means too much to too much money for whoever orders it. I'm open. Like if you are interested, contact me. But
Fantastic.
Just my advice is look elsewhere for translation services. Now, that being said, we always, in a meaningful way, explain things that we sell. Meaning, there will be a background story. There will be the necessary part of the award commendation, for example. We will, of course, make at least a digest, if not a complete translation, of the actual text of the main portion of the document. We will at least explain the most important details,
Yes.
where the battle took place. That, by the way, is not easily found even in documents. You have to do further research. Where was this unit at this particular time? What German unit it faced? That's an interesting question.
And would we be able to have the opportunity to interview people who have fought in the former Soviet Union? And,
Well, that generation
veterans.
is practically all gone.
All gone, right?
But there are many other sources. There are memoirs. There are
Memoirs, okay.
And believe it or not, we found names of people whose awards we have that are mentioned in memoirs.
I see.
So it became possible to a large extent because of the internet. You do a search.
Yes.
You need to know how to do it right. And you find all kinds of information. Sometimes, first-hand accounts. Yes, my buddy, such and such, we fought together at such and such place, and lo and behold, you have his battle.
Yes. Fascinating.
So
Fascinating.
that is fascinating side of things.
Okay, very good. Wow. And I understand that you are also a wine connoisseur.
That is very true, and I'm glad that you brought it up, John.
Oh, because I'm feeling kind of like dry right
I
now.
just have a little bottle sitting there and doing nothing. Why don't we open it and give it a taste?
Oh, okay. Is it somewhere?
It's right here.
Oh, goddamn.
Now,
Oh. What do we have here?
being a Russian, I of course like French wine. And Russians have fascination with French history,
Yes.
going back to before Napoleon. So today we'll be trying a glass of RNC. This is a Burgundy wine, which is not very well known, and that is fortunate, because we will be taking advantage of that. Which is not a very famous part of Burgundy, but it's a northern part, which I love. And you can call it a poor man's northern, good quality northern Burgundian wine, because
Okay.
some of them are very famous, extremely expensive. You can spend thousands of dollars on a single bottle.
Okay.
You don't have to do that.
Now, for a budget-conscious guy like me, what are we talking about here?
$30.
$30. Okay, then.
Yeah. And it's decent.
Wow. From France.
From France, it's RNC. It's part of actually a region that is well known for white wine,
Yes,
which is
yes.
Chablis.
Okay.
It's northeastern part. It's kind of separate from other appellations of Burgundy,
Yes, yes.
but it happens to be very, very decent. Of course, it's Pinot Noir, which is what we love in Burgundian wines. Well, let's see.
2018.
It looks good.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
And also a fine year in America. 2018.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd say so.
Oh, thank you. Not too much. I'm Asian.
Oh, please, you can have it. I don't.
Oh, my Lord.
You could say I'm Asian too.
What a treat. Yes, yes. Oh, please, explain the...
Well, we have typical Pinot Noir notes. It should come out not too tannic, which is again typical of Burgundy.
Okay.
So it has some structure.
And what do we
of course.
mean by tannic? What is that? What does that
Tannic
mean?
is this like tingling on the back of your tongue, like what gives structure to the wine. Otherwise, it will be too syrupy or too mushy. I can call it.
Oh, tingling at the back of the wine. Tannic. TNT.
Tannic, yeah. Like something like, that kind of binds it together.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
don't know how to best. I'm not a scientist.
Yes. And please explain the glass and all that. Just the basics.
Well, it's just a good, good glass for either Bordeaux or Burgundy wine, I think.
Yes.
Some people, swear that a particular shape is very important. To me,
Right.
it's just a big glass with a wide opening, so
Wide opening.
so wine can get aerated. and
Yes.
becomes
Ah,
better.
and narrow at the top.
slightly narrowed at the top, so it keeps the fumes there. And so you can actually
I see.
smell it before you taste it.
Gotcha.
And then, give
Wow.
it a try, see if it's any good.
Okay.
I think it's a
God.
good vibe.
2018. Oh, if we only had a time machine. Right? But that's okay. It's coming back. Good days are coming back.
Oh.
Oh, yes, yes. This is like a time machine. The 2018.
Oh,
yeah.
they know how to do that one.
Yeah, I could fill my tank with.
I actually
20 bucks.
visited that area, but at that time when I did, I didn't know about RNC. I didn't know about red
Iran Sea.
Chablis.
Wow.
And this is Chablis.
Chablis.
Which is red. It's famous for very nice white wine.
This is so smooth.
Is it not?
Yeah.
But
Are you getting like a commission from these guys? No.
no,
Okay.
it's just I buy it.
This is so smooth. It's
Yeah.
like juice.
Well, you liked it.
Oh my God, so smooth, so smooth.
Yeah,
It
that-
doesn't make you gag.
That's the thing about
Yeah.
Burgundy.
Yep. That's
that,
it. That's it.
Especially when it's of some age, at least. And,
Wow.
18 is still young, but it's good enough. You can see you don't need to hold it very well.
Oh, that's
Some
a
other
beautiful
Burgundian
part.
wines, especially serious ones,
That's a
you
beautiful
may
part.
want to hold for
Wow,
years.
Iran Sea. Yes,
Iran
find it
Sea.
at your local
Iran Sea.
liquor store, right? Yes.
Well, if you're not so lucky, then look it up on the internet.
Oh, yeah,
There
yeah,
are
of course, the
Wine
internet.
stores that sell them.
Absolutely. Do you sell wine?
No.
No. Okay. Well,
No, that's too much.
You're making a
I
plug.
consume it though.
so I assume every one of these future YouTube episodes from CollectRussia.com will have a complimentary wine review. I assume.
Yes, very, very amateurish and unprofessional.
No.
It's not like medals. I know my medals. Why
No,
much
no, no,
less
no,
so.
no. Igor, I've known you for a long time, and you are, and I would say, pretty much a sommelier.
Oh, please.
The
no.
only person I know who can qualify as
You
such.
can't even imagine.
No, I never
What it
had
takes to
tasted
be a
a
real
bad wine
sommelier.
from you. Oh, no.
But
Well.
I am a real medal dealer. I hope.
Yeah, yes, you are. You are bon vivant. Yes, yes. Well, Tubers and Connoisseurs, thank you for your valued patronage. And needless to say, in YT Wonderland, please subscribe, like, and especially hit that notification bell for updates to stay abreast of important offerings and knowledge that gives soul to collecting.
Awesome.
Until next time, my friend, das vidanya.
Пока.